Joining us now is Kash Patel on several different things happening. Kash, welcome to the program. So I want to talk about this Georgia grand jury report that came out today. Apparently that there was a recommendation to indict Lady Graham and Senator David Perdue. Walk us through this, Kash, and did Big Fannie Willis decide not to do that?
Well, hey, it's great to be back with you, and I'm glad you're having this Indian American on instead of Nikki Haley. So look, when it comes to the grand jury indictments in Georgia, I don't know that they're done. They say it's a quote-unquote report that they wanted to do something, and they haven't yet done it. So with these people, remember, this is the same district attorney who illegally leaked the indictment of Donald Trump 6 hours before its publication and lied to the world about how that could have possibly happened. And, of course, there's no one there to police her own criminal conduct. Grand jury information of any kind released without a judicial order is a felony in the state of Georgia and in the federal courts. So it's not a surprise that they wanted to target anyone in Trump's universe, and they say they came up short or just didn't return an indictment. But I don't know that they're done with this investigation and presenting cases to the grand jury.
Yeah, I mean, and Kash, you and I have been talking for quite some time. There's not a single local DA in the country that's a Republican who has the courage, the fortitude, or the spine to do what Big Fannie is doing. Not a single Republican AG that is doing any of this. I mean, to name, they have Lindsey. I am not a fan of Lindsey Graham, but this is outrageous, right? It's not right. It's wrong. Yeah. I'll stand up for Lindsey Graham 100% here because he literally did nothing wrong. Graham repeatedly prodded Raffensperger and his colleagues on the phone about signature matching of ballots. That's it. Signature matching. Raffensperger told CNN that he believed Graham implied that he should try to throw out. This Raffensperger guy is a bad dude. Holy moly. Graham denies wrongdoing and disputed his characterization of the call. He also argued that his actions should be protected by the Constitution's speech or debate clause. Yeah, obviously. And by the way, he also suggested that the ballots might be frauds. Only Stacey Abrams can do that. And so Kash, I mean, this is really bad. You're a former prosecutor. I've said for some time the only way this stops is when we start indicting them. Perp walk subpoenas, handcuffs, leg irons, prison time. Do you agree, Kash Patel?
Look, Charlie, you and I have led the charge for one single Republican district attorney or one single Republican state attorney general to lead that charge. We talked about it for, over a year now, maybe two. You had a beautiful article in the Federalist. Donald Trump was the one who helped push that messaging out, calling out the district attorneys and state attorney generals that you and I have for so long, and I still haven't found one, I don't think you have either, that is willing to lead the charge to handcuff these individuals. Everybody's still, wondering why this DOJ is bumbling around, for example, with Hunter Biden's indictment. Who cares? Are you telling me in the state of Arkansas, where we got a state AG who's a Republican, he couldn't find a crime with Hunter Biden and prostitutes and money laundering and fraud? What about every other state he touched? Florida, pick other ones, not Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. This guy was all over the country, and he used the national travel system to get from coast to coast. Every one of those state AGs could pop him, every single one of them, and not a single one is doing that. And if we wanted justice from this DOJ, which we know is never going to happen, the only place we're going to get it is at the state and district attorney level. But look, you've said it before, and so have I. They are outgunning us every damn day when it comes to the weaponization of justice. And we, who actually have the law on our side, are, for whatever reason, too big of a cowards to push it forward. And I really just don't have any information or examples as to why that is. It's really upsetting.
Yep, our side does not want to win. Okay, let's get to the next story here. Peter Navarro convicted by a D.C. jury. We're just sitting and bending over and taking it as a movement. Your reaction, Peter Navarro, convicted in federal court.
Look, Peter and I served in the Trump White House together. He's a great American. And what this is, just like with Steve Bannon, is another example of the two-tier system of justice. They convicted these individuals for a baseless contempt referral from a majority in Congress that ran the unlawful January 6th committee hearings into President Donald Trump. And, of course, this weaponized DOJ with Garland is going to do that. Where is the congressional majority for Republicans standing up against these types of illegal acts by DOJ? More so, where is the Republican majority in Congress when it comes to indicting Garland and Wray for the same contempt matters they say Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon did. Only difference is Wray and Garland actually violated congressional subpoenas that were validly issued, and every single day they violate one is another felony, and they're getting a free hall pass. This is a two-tier system of justice, and Republicans, and now look, these are a lot of my friends on Capitol Hill, are sitting idly by and doing nothing except writing more letters and Mother May I have you, instead of demanding the document production so we prevent another election from being rigged, and instead of demanding an equal system of justice so guys like Navarro and Bannon aren't unjustly, unlawfully, and unconstitutionally prosecuted as political targets. This will never stop until we get a chorus of Republicans in Congress to stand up and defund parts of the DOJ and FBI and get Garland and Wray in line. That's the only thing they'll listen to is money. It's the only power that we have over them, and we are not using it.
Yeah, so Kash, I mean, you've been saying that for quite some time. 9/30, September 30th, big funding deadline. Why are Republicans unwilling to defund at least the fringe, like fence off the funding or wall down the funding, as you say?
Mm-hmm.
They just give me excuses. They say, well, it could lose us the next election.
It's always a political argument, Charlie, isn't it? It's well, we're in power now, but we don't really want to lose the next time. Well, the reason you lost in the past and the reason you're afraid to act now is because these people in Congress, all they care about is their names in the headline and getting a good news story out so they can take it back to their constituency and say, look how great I am. No, the problem is you guys aren't fearless enough when it comes to standing up for what Donald Trump fought for in his administration. How the reason most of them are in Congress is because he backed their play and got them reelected. And now they're worried about what the next reelection cycle. Maybe if they showed up and did their job and fenced off the money from Chris Wray's private jet so that me and you as taxpayers don't have to fund his government-funded G5 so he can go on vacation every weekend. Maybe if they took Merrick Garland's new fleet of cars so he doesn't gallivant around the country in up-armored Escalades. Maybe if they started doing those things, their constituents would be like, hey, not only are we going to give you guys more money, we're going to send you back to Congress with an overwhelming record to do more. I don't know why a single one of them won't take that mandate on. I mean, it would literally take one person to do it, and I'm waiting for that one person. I'm also waiting for the one person to get it right and go impeach Garland and Wray rather than the political piñata that is Biden.
Kash Patel, the book is Government Gangsters. We'll talk more after the break. The Deep State, the Truth, and the Battle for Our Democracy. Kash Patel, stay right there. Okay, welcome back. Kash Patel continues with us. Check out his book, Government Gangsters. It's coming out soon, right, Kash, after your battle with DOJ or whatever, trying to get this out, right?
Yep, it's shipping in 2 weeks. I sued the federal government. The Biden administration tried to censor it for 10 months. Had to take them to federal court. There's got to be something in here that they don't want you to see.
It's really something. Check it out, Government Gangsters. Okay, other story I want to hit here is the ADL. Kash, the ADL has been smearing people for quite some time. Your reaction to the recent emphasis and focus on ADL?
Well, I guess it's not surprising to you or I that those guys have been coming after people who have championed America First values for such a long time. And now I think it's ironic that people who call themselves the ADL are telling us what is and isn't defamation and who not to target based on politics. I think people have now seen their hypocrisy, just like they have with the ACLU and other organizations, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and everybody else that's funded by George Soros, that these types of people have been in bed with the corrupt government gangsters I talk about in my book and the mainstream media to do one thing, to take out Donald Trump, just like these prosecutors, with baseless accusations and lies, and take out everyone around him. And I think the cacophony is growing so loud with this chorus, this group of criminals, that most of Americans who prior to today might not have voted for Donald Trump are now saying, wait a second, these guys have been lying to us for years, and I don't want them in power anymore. So hopefully that's the trend going forward.
So I totally agree. The ADL has done such damage to this country. So I also want to touch on this other story here, Kash, and again, remind people to check out his book, Government Gangsters. Lindsey Graham, Michael Flynn, and others in this kind of Georgia grand jury report. But the buried lead of all this is the 14th Amendment. What is your reaction to these extra constitutional attempts to try to kick Donald Trump off the ballot before any conviction, before any of it, just because they want it to be so? What is your reaction?
I mean, the former federal prosecutor, national security guy, I think it's laughable, but it's not surprising. The 14th Amendment, it is no bearing on these arguments. There is no state Secretary of State or state attorney general that can preclude a United States citizen from running for presidency based on the 14th Amendment. The power to do that vests in the federal government, and they cannot use it politically. That's what our founding fathers had in mind when they wrote the Bill of Rights. Look, to me, this is no different than when the government gangsters like Rod Rosenstein and Andy McCabe got together and said, oh, we're going to use the 25th Amendment, and you can wiretap me, and I'll go into the Oval Office and record Trump, and then we'll tell everyone he's unfit for office. That was never applicable under the law because the 25th Amendment only came into play for the founding fathers if there was a mental incapacity, like he slipped into a coma or had to leave for like a heart transplant or things like that. These people will come up with the next iteration of the 25th Amendment, the 14th Amendment. They'll find something new in the, who knows, the 9th Amendment. They'll just keep making it up because they will get quote unquote scholars from these terrible liberal law schools, but since they are like the likes of Harvard and Yale and all of them, people will listen to them and they'll make a movement to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. And it's not going to happen or work, but more importantly, my hope is that it has a boomerang effect because people are now seeing it is get Trump at any cost. We will just make up the law to do it. And I think the two-tier system of justice is now rampant in academia.
Yeah, it's all throughout. And you saw it started with David French and Lawrence Tribe, and you see these, you know, the introduction of these lawsuits to try and stop Donald Trump from even being on the ballot altogether. Kash Patel, check out his book, Government Gangsters. Thanks so much.